Hey, welcome to Move Combat, everybody. I am James, and here are your hosts, Haley.
Hey, what's up, you guys?
And Kenny.
Hello.
What are we talking about today, Haley?
Today we built commander decks using legendary creatures from the new Modern Horizons set.
Awesome. My favorite format.
I had a very hard time not making it a combo deck, and it kind of still ended up a combo deck.
So that's just because that's kind of what you build sometimes, Kenny.
I try not to.
It does.
I do.
It's okay.
I do, guys. I try.
I built another 5-color jank deck, so it's all good.
There we go. Okay.
We just do what we do. We're just using
Are you
different
telling
cards
me
to
that
do it.
people have themes when they make decks?
Absolutely not. We totally do.
I try not to be a Johnny, but it's hard not to be a Johnny.
Well, when I saw the stuff that was coming out in this set, there was several things that just screamed to me. They gave me several options to build the 5-color jank. So guess what I built?
5-color
Five-color
jank.
5-color jank. I had to.
It's not even jank though,
so
because
worth it.
you're
It's not
playing a
jank,
deck
it's really
that's
good.
kind of requires 5 colors, because all the good cards are 5-color cards.
Well, let's see the
Yeah.
5-color jank that you have in store for us.
All right. So
Morifon Slivers.
Yes, I built upon the new colorless creature, Morifon the Boundless. He is a 7-drop, 7 generic mana, that is, for a 6/6 legendary creature shapeshifter. He has Changeling, which means this card is every creature type, and as he enters the battlefield, you get to choose a creature type. Spells of the chosen type you cast cost 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red, and 1 green less to cast. This effect reduces only the amount of colored mana you pay, and then other creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1.
Now, does that mean, like,
That's a lot
if
of
you have
text.
That's
if
a
you
lot of
have
text.
just a green card, that it costs 1 green less?
Yes.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so you're basically just paying, if you have any card that only has 1 colored mana or 1 of each colored mana, you're just paying generic mana to cast the card.
And if it's a gold card that, say, it was green red, it costs
Green-red?
green red less.
Yep.
I vote.
That is really good.
I vote for sake of time. We just call it Wooberg.
Wooberg.
All right.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I wanted to be clear on how it works because that
Yes.
was a little confusing to me.
That is how it works.
Yeah.
You heard it right. We got the Lord for any tribal deck that you want to build.
He looks really grumpy, which is kind of funny.
He does. He's got that like old man grumpy face on. He's like, I hate all of you, and you're all going to use me to build your 5-color commander decks because you should. And naturally, with being Modern Horizons and just the theme and something that I've wanted to do for a really long time, and now I have an excuse to do so, we built Slivers.
She's now that person.
So, moving on to the big guys.
All that glitters is gold.
We have
Yeah.
all of these guys, Sliver Queen, Sliver Hive Lord, the First Sliver, Sliver Overlord, and Sliver Legion, all of which are Wooberg and can be cast completely for free with my commander.
Can I ask a really dumb question?
Absolutely.
Lore-wise, like, what are slivers exactly?
Basically, genetic experiments.
Kind of, yeah.
That's pretty bitchin'.
Like, I think the lore is a scientist tried to create like the ultimate organism, and then slivers happened, and apparently they breed like rabbits on crack.
Rabbits on crack is
Okay,
one way
cool.
to describe it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
Just
you're
was
good.
Curious.
One other thing I should clarify really quick too before we get into this. When I say 5-color jank, this deck isn't exactly the normal degree of jank that you would think. One, because Slivers is really good. The reason I'm calling it 5-color jank is because I don't like running up front in your face infinite combos. So a lot of the normal infinite combos that you see with like Sliver Queen and Ashnod's Altar, Mana Echoes, all those different combo pieces that she has with her, I don't play those. I built a deck that's very creature centered. There's 40 creatures in here in all, and then plus a commander, so technically 41 creatures.
Wait a minute. That means all these cards are cast for free.
Yes,
Yeah.
all of these cards get cast for free with my commander.
Yeah,
Oh, that's disgusting.
they do. And they're all like 7/7s or 5/5s or just these huge bodies that you get
Yeah.
to just play for free.
Basically,
And one of them's got Cascade.
And gives all your other sliver spells Cascade. Yeah.
basically the goal of this deck is to ramp up the commander, or ramp up to cast the commander, and then just throw everything on the board. So we're gonna start with Sliver Queen. If you're unfamiliar, she is one of each color. She is a 7/7 legendary creature. She counts as a sliver because she is old and they didn't have those kinds of setups on cards back then.
Yeah.
So, and then you pay 2 generic mana and you get to put a sliver token into play and you treat that as a 1/1 colorless creature. So basically you're paying 2 mana to make a sliver. She's very traditional, one of the most common sliver commanders.
Actually, Sliver Overlord's the most common sliver commander because
I said one of.
Oh, yes. But
Sliver, yes.
I mean, technically, all 5 of these are
Well, 4 of them. The new one's new.
the new. Okay, yeah.
The new one's new. But yeah, so she's a 5-drop 7/7 that makes extra dudes. And then we have Sliver Hive Lord. He is one of every color for a 5/5 legendary creature, and he says slivers you control have indestructible. So he's really good because now your board is destroy proof. Who doesn't like a big board that can't just be like destroy all creatures?
I don't know what you expect from me with that side, James. I can't.
I told you guys I was planning something this week.
This is pretty disgusting.
Next up, we have the first sliver. This is actually who I started building the deck off of because if I saw him in the spoilers before I saw Morphon, and this was, I'm like, that's it, we're building slivers, it's happening. He's one of each color, he's a 7/7 with Cascade, and slivers you control have Cascade. Cascade says, when you cast this spell, you exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less, and you may cast it without paying its mana cost, and you put the exiled cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. He just casts all the things for free.
Basically, it allows you to, if you play a 5-drop, you can reveal until you hit a 4-drop or lower and then play that for free. And then if it's a sliver, you get to do it again, but the cost of the spell keeps decreasing by 1. The maximum cost of the spell.
But the reason I say this, so this is all slivers you control of Cascade. So if you're playing a 3 or 4-drop sliver, then you're getting all your little, so you're getting almost always a 2-for-1 deal. Mm-hmm. At the very least, you're getting a 2-for-1 most of the time.
Which is good.
Cascade is one of my favorite abilities. I think it's one of my favorite abilities.
What was the favorite?
I don't know. I'll get back to you on that. But Cascade's definitely up at the top of the list. This is the reason I was like, that's it. We're doing it. We're building slivers. So he's in here as well. Then we got Sliver Overlord. One of each color for a 7/7 legendary creature. He has 2 abilities. One of them is you can pay 3 generic, search your library for a sliver card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. And his second one is 3 generic, gain control of target sliver. You get to search your library for a sliver card, reveal it.
Any commander that allows you to search your library for anything is really good.
Without tapping, too.
Correct.
3.
Well,
just 3 mana, search your library, put it in your hand.
But a creature you always have access to that allows you to look through your library for something is always good.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's obviously not the commander of this deck, but if I get him out, I just go search for all these gold guys and play them for free.
Yep.
I can search my library for any sliver. So that's really cool and really effective to what this deck wants to do because I want all 5 of these guys on the board if possible. Next up, Sliver Legion, one of every color for a 7/7 sliver. And then it says all slivers get +1/+1 for each other sliver in play. Like we mentioned earlier, slivers multiply like rabbits on crack.
Yeah.
So they get pretty big pretty fast, and that's what this deck does. It just makes a bunch of things that get really big really fast and hopefully overwhelm you.
Legion kind of acts like a coat of arms for just slivers.
Sort of, yeah. Essentially.
Which is cool.
It's really good.
It's not one-sided, so if your opponent's playing slivers too, but you're playing commander, and no one wants to be that guy, except for Haley.
Except for me. I want to be that guy.
So, she plays Sliver Legion. But if
Okay, so those are the five big guys. Next, we're moving on to Creatures Matter. These are a bunch of the pieces in the deck that just give you super value for playing your creature type. Door of Destinies is a 4-drop artifact. As it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type, and whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, you get to put a charge counter on Door of Destinies. And then creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each counter on it.
A great card.
It's a great card. This
is one of my favorite tribal cards.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's one of the staples in tribal magic. You play the things of your type, you get rewarded for playing the things of your type, and then your things of your type get bigger, and that's all you really want in a tribal deck.
I love cards like Door of Destinies and Herald's Horn that just kind of give you value for playing that creature type.
Yes.
They just kind of sit there and it's like, here you go.
Yep. Next up we've got Vanquisher's Banner. It's a 5-drop artifact, all generic mana. As Vanquisher's Banner enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Obviously, it's gonna be Slivers. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1, and whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, you get to draw a card. So this is just allowing me to see that much more of my deck. We have Kindred Summons, which is a 7-drop instant. It's 5 generic and 2 green. I get to choose a creature type and reveal cards from the top of my library until I reveal X creatures of the chosen type, where X is the number of creatures that I control of that type, and then I get to put those cards onto the battlefield and then shuffle the rest of the revealed cards into my library.
I feel like Kindred Summons in combination with cards like Sliver Queen that make tokens of your creature type seems silly.
It's great. I could have 20 plus slivers on the field and essentially just search my deck for
the rest of them.
For the rest of them.
Yeah.
Good luck dealing with my field.
Sightgrift. Always play Sightgrift.
You should probably do that. Herald's Horn. It's a 3 generic mana for an artifact. As it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Creature spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 generic less to cost, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card of the chosen type, you may reveal it and put it to your hand. So this is just giving me more creature value. My stuff is costing even less to cast again, and this deck has 19 2-drops in it, so if I've got my Commander and I've got Herald's Horde and I've got a bunch of my 2-drop slivers, they're just coming out.
They are.
You can't stop them. Next up we have Descendant's Path. It is a 3-drop, 2 generic, 1 green enchantment, and it says at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card that shares a creature type with a creature you control, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Otherwise, put that card on the bottom of your library. So this is really good for when I want to get my swarm out, because everything is a sliver. So any creature that I reveal, I get to play it for free. So it's just really good. The only downside is if I have a lot of creatures already or I need some sort of answer.
You are only revealing the top card, and since 40 out of 100 is still like only 20%, something like that, a little less than 20%.
40 out of 100.
Or, I'm sorry, 40%. I'm sorry, guys. I'm super tired and can clearly math the best. I can math the best.
When you put something over 100, that's the percentage.
It's 40%, and when you're only
40
flipping...
out of 100 cards is only 20%.
For extremely large values of 20.
I get it. But you're only flipping over a creature, I mean, before you draw your cards 40% of the time, statistically. So it's only a hit 40% of the time because it only reveals the top card. And then it puts the card on the bottom whether you want it to or not.
It's still a really good chance in my favor.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's better than most decks that run tribal because they normally only run like 30-something creatures in that tribe.
Yeah.
I
I'm
understand.
Sorry, Kenny.
I understand.
I'm the one who's supposed to be bad at math here. You need to get your shit together.
It's not going to happen.
And then we also play Kindred Discovery, which is a 5-drop enchantment. It's 3 generic, 2 blue. As it enters the battlefield, I get to choose a creature type, and whenever a creature I control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, I get to draw a card. This is really good, but it can also be really dangerous. So
Yes.
I have to use this enchantment.
So, I tried this enchantment in Merfolk.
Yeah. How'd that go for you?
I frequently killed myself.
That's fair.
Because the Merfolk can go as wide as slivers, and since you're drawing cards anyway. And it doesn't say may, it says you have to.
Luckily for me, there are slivers that destroy enchantments. So when it gets to be too much, I just have to use the sliver to blow it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this early game, if I'm dropping this on curve or relatively early, this is still really good for me because it's just giving me that much more value to build my swarm, which is that's the point of the deck. You build the swarm.
Yeah.
So next up we have new and silly slivers. So like I said, Modern Horizons just came out and they came out with a ton of new slivers. So that was part of the reasoning behind me saying screw it, I'm just gonna do it finally. But there's also like one silly sliver that I put in here that people laugh at me for.
Frenetic Sliver is hilarious.
It's great. People laugh at me, but I don't think you understand how good this card is. At least in my head, it's really good. Well, listen, okay, so Frenetic Sliver is a 3-drop, 1 generic, 1 blue, 1 red for a 2/2 sliver. He says all slivers have pay 0 mana. If this creature is in play, flip a coin. If you win the flip, remove this creature from the game and return it to play under its owner's control at the end of turn. If you lose the flip, sacrifice it. So listen, here's my thought process behind this. Okay, so somebody board wipes, my slivers don't have indestructible. Or they try to exile something. I now have a 50-50 shot to save my field.
I agree. I think it's ingenious.
Thank you. So if I'm gonna lose the stuff anyways, I might as well have a chance to save it if I have nothing else in hand. So I think this is a really good, like, mitigate the damage type card. So It's like, yes, I'm losing everything, but I have a 50% chance to not lose everything.
Okay.
I think it's silly. I think it's fun. I think that it's a really good answer when I don't have the actual answers. Because that's how I play Magic. So as far as new slivers go, we have Hollowhead Sliver, which is a 3-drop. It's 2 generic, 1 red for a 2/2. It has sliver creatures you control have tap to discard a card and then draw a card. So you're looting. I'm getting rid of extra lands. I'm getting rid of any of the spells that I don't need at this exact time or spells that aren't going to do anything right now, and getting something that potentially is better. Lava Belly Sliver, it's a 3-drop, it's 1 generic, 1 red, 1 white for a 2/2. It says, sliver creatures you control have when this creature enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to target player or planeswalker and you gain a life. This is really good because it's life gain and it's damage, so I'm potentially hitting, and then it hits planeswalkers too, which is really nice. So I don't have to actually swing into a planeswalker to be able to kill it. More value. Alternatively, I can just hit you, the player, for a ton of damage if I'm playing a ton of creatures this turn and gain all that life back. Dregscape Sliver, it is a 2-drop, it is 1 generic, 1 black for a 2/2. Each sliver creature card in your graveyard has Unearth 2.
I just want to say Unearth is this really cool mechanic that we haven't seen in a long time.
Yes.
And being able to give you, like, when at the end, in the mid to late game, being able to reanimate all the creatures that have died for like one last swing to try and push the game in your favor is a really cool facet that you can give your deck.
So to elaborate, Unearth, for this example, Unearth 2, it's 2 generic mana, you pay the 2, and you return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, and then you exile it at the beginning of the next end step, or if it would leave the battlefield, and then you unearth only as a sorcery. So yeah, like Kenny said, this is a really good way. If I've got no other answers or no other way to bring things back, this is a really good, like, last stand, try to turn the tides type deal.
Yeah.
Enduring Sliver, it is a 2-drop. It is 1 generic, 1 white for a 2/2, and it has Outlast 2. Outlast says, Outlast 2 is 2 generic mana, you tap it, you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, you only Outlast as a sorcery, and then it also gives other sliver creatures you control Outlast 2 as well. So this is like a good, I make my dudes bigger.
So,
if I can't swing at you this turn.
Seeing Dredgescape Sliver, I can say words, and Enduring Sliver, please tell me you're running Training Ground. Okay. No? No? Why?
It's okay.
Why? It's so good.
Because I would like to point out that commander decks can only have 100 cards in them, and it's very hard to decide which 100 you should be playing. I already only have 34 lands, and you already yelled at me for that today. But 34 lands is how many I normally play in a commander deck, and Kenny yells at me every time, but I'm fine. Don't worry about it.
So, for those of you who don't know, Training Grounds is a 2-drop enchantment that says activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less. They cannot cost less than 0. So, your Dredgescape Sliver, which has Unearth 2, for 2, and Enduring Sliver, which has Outlast 2, for 2, they're free.
I don't need your judgment, Kenny.
It's so good, though.
It is very good, but sacrifices had to be made.
It's such a cool card.
One card at a time. And then also Cloud Shredder Sliver. It's a 2-drop, 1 red, 1 white for a 1/1. It gives all your slivers flying and haste. So that's really good because who doesn't love
Flying
keyword
and haste.
abilities on everything?
Flying and haste. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, as just
It
generically
looks
too.
like sweepers.
It's all sweepers. Just generically too, a lot of the slivers, in case you weren't picking up the drift or you're unfamiliar with slivers, most slivers give every sliver something. If not all slivers.
That's their theme, yeah.
That's the theme, is like if this sliver has this, and so do all the rest of your slivers. So a lot of the keyword abilities are going to be in here at some point in time, but you will see in the deck list that we post after. Yes, board wipes. Board wipes, board wipes, board wipes. So I like protecting my stuff. I tried my best to find the board wipes that protect my stuff. I prefer not to get board wiped myself, so if I can prevent that, I will try to. But in the case, sometimes you just need a hard reset, or alternatively, use a board wipe that benefits you as well. So I have Austere Command in here. It's a 6-drop. It's 4 generic and 2 white. Sorcery speed. You get to choose 2. You destroy all artifacts, destroy all enchantments, destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less, or destroy all creatures with converted mana cost of 4 or greater. So I get to choose whichever 2 I want. It's kind of like situational. What do I need gone at this moment? For example, if I'm playing against somebody who's playing an enchantment deck and I need all of their enchantments gone, this works perfectly. Or if I'm trying to protect my board somewhat, I can destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 4 or greater, because a lot of my slivers are smaller than that. A lot of the base ones are smaller than that anyways, not the lords. But this just helps protect a bunch of my dudes. Cyclonic Rift is always a good option. It is a 2-drop, 1 generic, 1 blue that returns target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand, or it has an overload cost of 6 generic and 1 blue that says you may cast a spell for its overload cost. If you do, change its text by replacing instances of target with each. So, one-sided board wipe, it's great. My stuff is fine, your stuff is gone. Kindred Dominance is also great. It's a 7-drop sorcery. It's 5 generic and 2 black that says choose a creature type, destroy all creatures that aren't of the chosen type. As long as I'm not playing somebody else who's playing slivers, I think we're okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, sometimes I can't prevent losing my board. So Fumigate's really good. It's a 5-drop sorcery. It's 3 generic and 2 white. It destroys all creatures, but I gain 1 life for each creature destroyed this way. So sometimes you just need a reset of things, but at least this gains me life, and that can buy me extra turns depending on how many creatures are on the board. It gives me time to find another answer to something that's happening. And then, yeah, sometimes you just need a hard reset. Supreme Verdict, 1 generic, 2 white, 1 blue, sorcery, cannot be countered, destroy all creatures.
Yep.
You can't counter it, it's happening. Good luck. Ramp and more value. So these are things that, like I said, I want to play my commander really fast, get it out there, so I'm paying a lot less for each of my slivers. So we've got ramp in there to do that, and then just some really, really good value cards, like Quest for Renewal. It's a 2-drop enchantment, 1 generic, 1 green, and it says whenever a creature I control becomes tapped, I can put a quest counter on it. And as long as there are 4 or more quest counters on it, I get to untap all creatures I control during each other player's untap step. So it's every turn I'm untapping all of my slivers. I can use their abilities, whether it's to get mana from them, whether it's to loot cards, whether it's to put counters on them, any of the above. It just untaps my stuff every turn. That's really good. Cloud Cover is a 4-drop enchantment for 2 generic and 1 white and 1 blue. And this says whenever another permanent I control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, I can return that permanent to my hand. It was really good against spot removal because, you know, if you don't have a board wipe, they're going to be, well, what's the worst sliver on the board? It's probably going to be that one. So they target it, and I go, just kidding, it's mine again. You can't actually kill it.
Cloud Cover's a really cool enchantment.
It is a really cool enchantment. Next up, Mirari's Wake, 5-drop, 3 generic, 1 green, 1 white. It says, creatures I control get +1/+1. This is really good because it's buffing all my stuff. And then whenever I tap a land for mana, I get to add 1 mana to my mana pool of any type that land produced. I'm more or less doubling my mana pool when it comes to tapping my lands. So that means I'm playing more things in a turn, much quicker. You catching the drift.
Also, it being a creature deck, it might be worth thinking about cards like Zendikar Resurgent.
Yeah.
Where you're drawing a card for each creature you're casting. So casting off Cascade.
I have a lot of draw in this deck, though, so I wanted to be mindful of that. Because draw is really good, but you can only have so much of it before you draw out, because if you can't draw a card, you can't play the game anymore. So I tried to be, when making this list, I was mindful of how much draw I had within the deck and how much of like the searching that I had and going through it, comparatively speaking, because I can only draw so many cards. In fact, I can only draw 99 cards. So, you know, you have to be careful with how much draw you're putting in these decks. Like we said earlier when we brought up the other enchantment, it's because it's not a May ability, you have to draw. So you have to be careful how much you're drawing. Gemhide Sliver. There's also another card that's similar to this. It's literally the exact same card with a different name. It's Manawef Sliver. It's 1 generic, 1 green for a 1/1, and all slivers have tap to add 1 mana, 2 of any color to your mana pool. So this is just making all of my slivers mana if I need it, of any color. It's good. Ranger's Path. It's a 4-drop sorcery, 3 generic, 1 green. I get to search my library for up to 2 forest cards and put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle my library. This deck is predominantly green and white. At least my version of it is. There's a lot of green and white stuff. So obviously I'm running basic forests. This pulls those forests out of my deck, so I have the forest to cast the green stuff, and then additionally it's thinning my deck, so I'm just drawing more gas with my creatures, because I'm thinning the lands out. And then Cathar's Crusade. It's a 5-drop enchantment. It's 3 generic, 2 white, and it says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under my control, I put a +1/+1 counter on each creature I control. If I play 5 slivers in a turn, everything effectively gets +5/+5 that was already on my field. That's nasty.
Yep, geometric progression card.
It's really good. It makes my slivers much more of a threat than they already were, and now you have to deal with them.
Yeah.
And then last up, I believe it's just the thing that's in every deck, the lands. You have a couple standouts, like your Sliver Hive. It taps to add 1 generic, or you can tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, but only cast that mana to use for a Sliver spell. Or you can pay 5 generic, tap it, and put a 1/1 color Sliver creature token onto the battlefield, and you can only activate that ability if you control a Sliver.
I like how Sliver Hive kind of gives you a toned down version of what Sliver Queen does.
Yes.
But it still allows you to produce mana.
Yes, and it's also an alternative way to put more slivers on the board, which triggers more things, so you can do more things.
Absolutely.
It's pretty good. It's toned down of Sliver Queen, obviously, because it's not 2 mana, and you have to tap it.
Yeah.
But it's still producing you either mana or a Sliver token, which is really good.
It's because this was produced after Sliver Queen, and they realized that being able to produce a Sliver, period, is really good when you've got an army of them that give abilities to everything.
Yes, absolutely. And then Cavern of Souls. As it enters the battlefield, you get to choose a creature type. You can tap it to add a colorless mana to your mana pool, or you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, spend that mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, and that spell can't be countered. Really good in tribal decks. It just was a shoe-in for it.
Yep.
Additionally, in this deck, there's a full set of shocks and a full set of checks or buddy lands, depending on what you want to call them. This is like the budget-ish version of the land base. Once you start getting a lot of stuff out there, I found that you didn't need stuff like the tri-lands in this 5-color deck, which normally in a 5-color deck you do, because you have to hit your colors, whereas like a lot of the creatures you're casting, at least, aren't double mana. So it's not like 2 blues or 2 whites. So the most important stuff that you're casting in your deck, the creatures, you only need like 1 of the colors. So
I mean, Morophon helps towards that and reducing their costs.
Yes, that too. So I didn't think that the tri-lands were necessary, and it was more important to have lands that were potentially coming in untapped. So additionally, I mean, you could run the duels instead of the shocks if you wanted to, or run the fetches for even more of like thinning your deck. I just don't have that kind of money. So I would, but you know, you take what you can get, and I think it's worked out pretty good so far. So
Well, this looks like a really good aggro deck.
I hope so. It should be. There's no reason it should not be.
I mean, Slivers is always terrifying. You never want to really sit at a table with... Well, I mean, I never want to say that because Slivers can be a blast to play against because there's just silly things that happen.
Oh, yeah.
Like running with cards, like, what's the enchantment from Ixalan that changes creature spells to all that creature type? 3-drop?
Oh, Arcane Adaptation.
Arcane Adaptation out of other decks, turning all of your creatures into Slivers because you're playing the Sliver player.
And then, you know, things become messy.
Cards like that in Conspiracy. Yeah, it can get kind of silly.
Yeah, it's really silly. This obviously wouldn't be a deck that I play all the time because it's mean and people hate playing against Slivers. But I feel like once in a while for fun, or when I just want to kick my boyfriend's ass because he's being a dick and he just keeps winning. Sometimes somebody.
So when you're salty.
When I'm salty, shh, Kenny. You're the one that gets salty, not me. So sometimes somebody just needs to be put in their place, okay? And that's what this deck is for. It's just all in good fun. I thought it'd be fun. Why not? We got 2 new commanders for Slivers in this set, so I felt it was my civil duty to build this deck for you. And that's all I have to say on it.
Yeah, it's
Slivers.
Oh boy.
I can feel your
So what's our
enthusiasm.
next deck?
So James might like this one. I built Urzatron. I couldn't not. He's like the biggest, bestest planeswalker that was ever a planeswalker in the Magic lore, and I feel like he deserved the right to get a commander deck tech. It doesn't hurt that he's absolutely ridiculous.
Just a little bit.
So he's a 4-mana 1/4, 2 blue and 2, human artificer, and when he enters the battlefield, you create a 0/0 construct, is what I'm going to call it from now on, because that is what it is. That gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control.
It's a construct.
It's a construct. And he lets you tap an artifact to produce blue mana. 1 blue mana. And then you can pay 5, shuffle your library, then exile the top card. Until the end of turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost. It's great. It's like Tolarian Academy plus future or Mind Over Matter plus Karn.
Yeah, the reason we call them constructs is because the first time we saw this specific token was from Karn, Scion of Urza.
Yeah.
And so they got affectionately nicknamed constructs, and they will forever be constructs. I don't care if they're coming from Urza.
Yep. Okay.
You can see him in the artwork all behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes in with
Pretty
a
awesome.
bodyguard, and then he turns that bodyguard into mana for more things. It's great.
Great, that's what
So-
we're calling it.
We're going to go the token route for this, so we produce as much mana as possible, as fast as possible, with cards like Mechanized Production, Efficient Construction, Mirrodin Besieged, and Thopter Spy Network. All of these cards produce tokens on your upkeep, or whenever you cast an artifact spell, or whenever you connect with a token. Just they care about you playing artifacts.
You just make things for doing the things that you would normally do, and that makes it super efficient.
Yeah. So Mechanized Production is an enchantment that targets an artifact you control. And then during your upkeep, you create a copy of that of the artifact you enchanted, and then when you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name, you win. Yay! So you can target a construct, and then you just make bigger constructs. Efficient Construction just cares about whenever you cast an artifact spell, you make a 1/1 Thopter. So it puts bodies in the air that also add blue mana when you want them to. Mirrodin Besieged is a cool new enchantment from Modern Horizons. You choose Mirrodin or Phyrexian. And if you choose Mirrodin, whenever you cast an artifact spell, you get a 1/1 Mirror, which is also an artifact creature. And Phyrexian, at the beginning of your end step, you draw a card, then discard a card. Then if there are 15 or more artifact cards in your graveyard, target opponent loses the game.
That's gross.
I mean, ideally, I would just pick the Mirrodin one, but the Phyrexian one's pretty fun, too. Thopter Spy Network is token production and card draw. If you control an artifact, you get a 1/1 colorless Thopter during your upkeep, and then whenever one or more artifact creatures you control connects to a player, you draw a card. So you can just rip through your deck for more things. To play more things.
Yeah, to play more things, and then play more things.
Yeah,
and
just keep the wheel spinning.
And then you get free things for casting the things.
Yeah.
It's great.
So I wanted to list a couple of the finishers I put in here. It was really hard to not go all in on the infinite combos, but I did put one in there, and that was Paradox Engine and Aetherflux Reservoir. Combined with...
Technically, can't somebody quit before they get struck by Aetherflux Reservoir? Therefore,
I mean, they can.
Therefore, depriving you of that combo.
Absolutely. But then you just keep going.
I just think the best part of this all is how Kenny is laughing at his own jokes, and also like the fact that he's like did this. So like he just for those of you who can't see the slides that we have up, his title on this slide is "Enough is Never Enough," and it popped up, and he just instantly started laughing at the joke.
Well, it's more like a nervous laugh because I tried to make it not unfriendly, but it kind of ended up a little unfriendly.
Kenny makes everything unfriendly. Don't listen to him. He's like, I built the nicest deck possible. Also, it's super hyper competitive, and you will die. Thank you. Have a nice day.
I try sometimes.
Well, I'm just excited that Meme Narc isn't here.
Yeah, Meme Narc isn't here because Urza makes a bajillion mana, so you can just spam his ability.
Yep.
And take everyone's things and make them sad.
Yep.
Or you could use it as spot removal and take their Sliver Queen before they get out of hand with their Sliver Queen. Or
you should explain what Memnarch actually does for the viewers at home.
I'm aware. I'm getting there. So Memnarch is a 7-mana 4/5 artifact creature wizard. A lot of creature types. You can pay double blue and 1 to make a permanent an artifact, in addition to its other types, forever. And then you can pay a blue and 3 to gain control of target artifact. So for 7 mana, you take a thing.
Or
forever.
4 if it's an artifact already.
Yeah, or 4 if it's already an artifact. And then I included Deadeye Navigator in here because Urza doesn't care about your artifact creatures having summoning sickness or not. His ability says, tap target artifact, make a blue. And when he creates the construct when he enters play. So you can spam Deadeye Navigator to make a bajillion constructs. And just kill them with constructs.
Wait, you gotta explain that for me.
Okay,
as long as Deadeye Navigator is paired with another
Deadeye Navigator, when he enters the battlefield, or another creature enters the battlefield while Deadeye Navigator is in play.
Oh, I get it.
They soul bond, which means they're connected, but not really. Basically, just the effect that is on the soul bond creature applies to the other creature. And as long as it's paired with another creature, you can pay a blue and 1 to exile either creature and then return it to the battlefield under your control. So you can
keep exiling the
you can spam
same construct.
Urza, or you can just spam Urza for constructs. And then tap them for mana to spam Urza more.
Well, I have to say, I'm disgusted with you both.
Oh, I've got more. I'm not done.
He hasn't finished explaining all the cards on this slide, though.
I have
People
not.
who don't know what Paradox Engine or Aetherflux Reservoir
So,
do, other than the fact that they're an infinite combo.
So, Aetherflux Reservoir and Paradox Engine are the only infinite. I actually kind of did it on accident, too.
Accident.
I actually did. I just thought Paradox Engine is good with Urza and Aetherflux Reservoir is good with Urza, and they turned out it's an infinite combo.
Keep talking, Kenny.
But for Aetherflux Reservoir, whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you cast this turn. And then you can pay 50 life to deal 50 damage to target creature or player. So Urza's ability allows you to shuffle your library, and then cast the top card for free. Like, it's still being cast. It can be countered. And then Paradox Engine says whenever you cast a spell, you untap all non-land permanents you control. Your artifacts aren't lands, so you just untap them and then use them again. So as long as you have 5 artifacts to tap for Urza's ability, you can just repeat.
Watch
Forever.
rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Until you
Moving
hit
on.
until you hit a dud.
Groan.
James is done with your shit.
/ groan.
Moving on. Digging for treasure. So I just want to include a couple tutor spells. Fabricate is your kind of the iconic find an artifact spell in blue. You just search your library for an artifact, reveal it, put it in your hand for 3 mana. Reshape is a little different. You pay X and 2 blue, and then as an additional cost to play Reshape, you sacrifice an artifact. Then you search your library for an artifact card with confirmed mana cost X or less, and put it into play, then shuffle your library. So effectively, you're getting a free Arkham Dagsson effect, which is a creature that does the same thing without you having to pay X for it. War of Invention has Improvise, which means you can tap your artifacts to play it without Urza. And then it's X and triple blue. It's an instant, and then you can search your library for an artifact card with confirmed mana cost X or less and put it into play. And then you shuffle. So you just find the artifacts that you want and put them into play.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's just what Blue's really good at finding artifacts. I don't feel like I need to justify this.
I mean, I found a way to justify 5 color slivers, so I really can't say anything right now.
And all about the facts. So I did include some artifacts matter cards like Padim, which gives all your artifacts hexproof. Means they can be targeted by your opponent's spells or abilities, which is fun. And then if you control an artifact with the highest converted mana cost, or tied for the highest, you draw a card. Sai, whenever is the same thing as Thopter Spy Network, or Mechanized Production.
Yeah.
Where whenever you cast an artifact spell, you get a 1/1 Thopter, and then he has a blue and 1 and lets you sacrifice 2 artifacts to draw a card. Unwinding Clock is kind of our Seedborn Muse. It untaps all our artifacts during each other player's untap step. So if we don't have like Paradox Engine to go do silly shit with, we just kind of do it on our opponent's turns anyway. And then Tezzeret and Tezzeret, the mono blue Tezzerets. Tezzeret Artifact Master is a 5 mana planeswalker with 5 loyalty. His +1 lets you create a 1/1 Thopter. His 0 is draw a card, and if you control 3 or more artifacts, you draw 2 instead. Then his -9 is you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your end step, you search your library for a permanent and put it into play.
Don't let the final get off. Speaking of someone who used to play this card, it gets nasty if you let the final go off.
It's bad.
Fun fact, the Tezzeret Artifice Master was the artwork on the Detroit playmat for the Grand Prix this last year.
It was?
Yes, it was.
Then the other Tezzeret is technically my favorite of the two.
Tezzeret the Seeker is probably the best, probably one of the best Tezzerets. If you
So it's 5 mana, 2 blue and 3 for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. You untap up to 2 target artifacts for his +1. And then it's -X, search your library for an artifact with CMC X or less, and then you put it into play. And then his -5 is artifacts you control become artifact creatures with power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn. So you turn all your Thopters into 5/5s.
Yeah. It seems good.
Mm-hmm.
Seems good.
And they still maintain the flying ability.
Seems good.
And I couldn't really build Urza without Karn. So I included 2 of them. The ones that care about artifacts. Sign of Urza creates Constructs, which is what Urza creates, so I felt like that needed to happen. And then his draw and then other draw kind of ability are really good. Just utility abilities to have on a Planeswalker. Being able to reveal the top 2 cards of your library, and then having an opponent choose, and then putting one underneath Karn in exile, and keeping one is not the greatest, but it feels kind of politicky, which is fun.
Yeah.
And then his -1 just gets you the other card, or other cards that they didn't let come to your hand. Then his -2 creates a Construct. So, I don't know. I feel like it's a really solid include.
There's a reason he's play, yes.
And Karn the Great Creator was the one that I really wanted to put in here. Because he gives you access to a whole sideboard of, in Commander, it's 10 cards, not 15. But he allows you, for his -2, he's 4 mana for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. His +1 animates an artifact, and its power and toughness become equal to the CMC of the artifact. And then his -2 allows you to look through your sideboard for an artifact, and then put it into your hand after revealing it.
It's from outside the game or in exile. So you can pull
So
it out of exile or
Like something you exiled with Karn
Yeah.
Sign of Urza, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have Satan himself, Mycosynth Lattice.
And then I have Mycosynth Lattice. I brought it.
Pro tip to anyone who's listening to this podcast: if someone plays Mycosynth Lattice, kill it. Kill it now.
Not let it resolve. Just don't even let it hit the board.
There is so much crap you can pull with this card. It's not even fun.
Don't even let it see
being
play.
able to turn all of our artifacts into mana is really good. And because we're running Memnarch, we can just take everyone's stuff. Also, Mycosynth Lattice is really good with Karn the Great Creator because it turns all of their lands into artifacts, and then they can't be used.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
There's a little bit of a lock. Yeah.
I'm not saying don't use Mycosynth Lattice. I'm just saying it must die. It is like
yeah.
Don't
Absolutely.
let it hit the field. Exile it from their hand. Kill it with fire. Any of the above options.
My favorite
are
combo with
acceptable.
Mycosynth Lattice still though has got to be animating your lands with Sidri. Galvanic
Jesus.
Genius.
Galvanic Jesus.
Galvanic Jesus.
Jesus.
That's what she is from now on. Galvanic Jesus. And, you animate their lands, so for a brief moment they're alive.
And then they die.
And then they die.
I mean, Karn can do the same thing. Karn the Great Creator can do the same thing with his +1.
Yeah.
As long as you have Mycosynth Lattice down.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because his ability shuts them all off anyway.
It's disgusting.
But being able to build the
That's
sideboard, you
stupid.
can kind of move your salty cards like Static Orb and Winter Orb off to the side, and if you feel extra salty, just pull them out with Karn.
Or alternatively,
You could have
don't
friends.
let Karn hit the field. Kill it with fire.
Or alternatively, you could have friends that want to play Commander with you again, Kenny.
I have friends that want to play Commander with me sometimes.
They get far and few between each time we play. And I'm not sure if it's his fault or mine.
I think I've been pretty chill on Commander for the last couple months at least.
You
'cause we
throw
haven't had a
around
lot of time to
Mycosynth
play the
Lattice and
past
Karn the
couple
Great
months.
Creator, you're not going to have that many friends left, Kenny.
We
You
used
know
to
what?
play like 5 or 6 games a week, and now we're down to like 1 in between standard.
Yeah.
All right, next.
Well, that's it.
That's
That's all.
That's it.
That's all I got.
That's Kenny's engines.
Oh, so I guess it's up to me to decide which of these two decks is cooler in my uneducated opinion, as
In
usual.
your uneducated opinion, which would you rather play
Okay,
or
I'm
play
gonna
against?
list my pros and cons.
Okay,
alright?
let's hear the pros and cons.
So
Let's do it.
the biggest con I see is actually with Kenny's deck. It's a monocolor deck, and that scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, but
So-
it is mono blue.
Yeah, but it's still scary.
I only need 1 Iona.
But then on the other side, well, it's got artifacts too, so it's
Yeah.
got ways to do.
It's closer to a
non-colored
2-color
damage.
deck than you would think
Yeah.
because most of the spells are
And
colorless.
then they got Haley, who's got a 5-color deck that's even scarier to me to play. because I don't have the money for all those lands. But I hate to disappoint you, Kenny, because I really like your deck and I want to actually build it. But I gotta go with slivers.
Okay.
I have to because
No, I get it.
Because they're slivers.
Yeah, they're fun.
I love decks that build up like upon themselves really quickly and amass like a thing that you have to deal with or die. And slivers are definitely the least fun for your opponent way to do that.
Yes.
That being said, I think you're both evil incarnate.
Hey, I could have built slivers a lot worse and a
You
lot
could
more
have.
expensive.
You could have.
I could have also done the same with
That's true, you
Urza.
could've.
I think it's so. Which one do I like better? I can't say it's a tie. I guess I'll go with slivers. Though personally, I really want to try the deck that Kenny built. I don't think I'd ever build the sliver deck because
I'm not
I
evil
want to have
incarnate.
friends.
No, I just hate everybody. That's the whole goal. Here's your guys' hint. Stop talking to me. Don't ever do
So
it
I
again.
think
Leave
if
me
I remember
alone.
our count now, that's 1 for Kenny and 1 for Haley for deck votes. So next time it'll have to be the tiebreaker between.
Oh yeah, I got feather last
This will
time.
just
Yeah.
be like, this will just be like a constant running.
I guess so. Man, I thought Urza
I don't
would
think
win.
either of us are ever really gonna win this.
I don't think so. I think that's gonna happen.
It was really close, but I gotta say, like the fact that slivers add things to all slivers is like joy.
It's just a lot of fun. Like I said, Slivers is not a deck that you play every time, obviously, if you want to keep your friends.
And I played,
But
and also there's Vandal Blast is a problem for the.
Of course.
It's a monocolor, and you're relying heavily on artifacts, but. And you also use some infinite combos, which I like infinite combos.
limited the infinite. I did limit the infinite.
I know
you
you
did
limited
limit
them.
it. I just straight up said, nope, we're not running them. But that's fine. I'll let
But
you have your
I
fun.
But with
I
Urza,
think-
it's really hard not to.
I think
You
what
just enable
happened-
so easily.
I think what it is that it just seems like a contest to see who could be the most evil, and you held back, Kenny. I'm
I
disappointed.
did
in
hold
you.
back. I intentionally held back because Urza has this ability to just facilitate combos. And I didn't want to put a deck on the show that felt like it would be unfun for other
Well,
people to play against.
Well, namaste, honor to
What?
Kenny, then. So, but ninjas rule, samurais rule.
Kissing
So
up to the audience.
No, that's exactly what my
Kenny's
strategy
trying to
was.
win cool points with you guys right now. It's okay. I'll let him do it. Like I said, I hate everybody, so it doesn't matter if you like me or not to me.
So that's 1-1 then. I am having some voters remorse though, because I do like this deck a lot, but
See, I think it's hard to pick between the two because Kenny's deck is probably a deck that I would want to try as well.
yeah,
So
Yay! Does that mean I get a vote from Haley?
no.
no,
Please?
I'm the
No.
voter.
Oh.
That's my job,
Oh.
guys. I have
James
two
doesn't
jobs.
have a lot of jobs.
I have two jobs on
James
this
has
show.
a lot of jobs. I don't know what
making
you're talking
sure,
about.
More than us.
making sure the podcast works, making sure
That's
our
that's
audio is good.
That's a lot of jobs.
And then voting on which of these two people has cooler stuff.
The answer is we both have really cool stuff. It's
Yeah.
just whose would you rather this week?
I know. It's tough. That was a tough decision for me. I was thinking about that the entire episode. But
Yeah. This
I
was
do
fun.
think Kenny's right with that one card he wanted to include in the Slivers deck though. So that's a
Training
point
grounds?
for Kenny. Yeah, training grounds.
He might not be wrong, but also it's my deck, so back off. You want to build it, put it in your own version of the deck.
I put it in Urza.
Well, if you guys want to check out our commander deck techs, I'm gonna put the link to them below this video when it's on YouTube,
We'll
so you
post
can
them
check
on
it out.
all of the social medias.
And if you're watching on Twitch and you don't know why do we always get 3 viewers right when the show's ending?
I don't know.
Maybe they think we start at 9.
Anyway,
Guys, we start at 8. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi.
hi, welcome to the show. Let's just do it all over again.
Please
Let's
no.
just start all over again.
Oh, no.
Okay,
Please
but
no.
if you missed the show and you want to check it out, you can catch us. You can catch our back episode listed at Twitter where we're at To Combat. I'm not even reading the script anymore. Or you can
I think you
can
went
check our
rogue there and got
Facebook.
confused.
Yeah, we can check our Facebook page for Move to Combat, and we'll have the videos there for you too. You can always check us out here at Twitch TV/Move to Combat every Wednesday at 8 p.m. starting
Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern
to be clear.
Standard Time, not Central Standard Time.
That's an hour late.
That's an hour too late for us. Or you can email us at movethecombatpodcast@gmail.com. If you liked our intro and outro music, you can check it out at soundcloud.com/James Shibe. That's James Shaieb. That's me. Feel free to check that out and download whatever you want. We also have a sister podcast on Saturdays that's for role-playing games called Brave Yet Stupid, where you can watch me and a couple of my friends act like total morons as we try to adventure through a nightmare scenario that I've created. So,
So like every D&D game ever.
exactly. But it's more fun because you get to hang out with us. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and have a great night.